Being a web developer is fun, partly because there's a million different ways to do that one thing that you're trying to do, especially if that thing is trying to change your HTML, do some dynamic behavior that involves HTML and JavaScript. Usually we end up reaching for something like a Vue.js or React or Angular, like some kind of framework that helps us build interactive applications. There's actually a lot of functionality that's already built right into the browser. Let's mash on that.
Hey everybody, and welcome to the Asp.Net Monsters. I'm James Chambers. I'm here with Dave Paquette. Simon, I believe, he's like vacationing. Which is
I'm not
wonderful.
sure. Yeah, I didn't know he
Uh,
did that.
I don't I think he probably brought two laptops with him, and he's like this coding on both at the same time. Like that's probably more like Simon, I think, is what's going on.
This That's how you camp, isn't it?
Anyways, here we are, and we're talking about there's a little bit of a lag. I hope we edit that out, but if we don't, that's okay too. They're HTML templates. So I mean, first of all, I think we have to open this up and say, is the correct way to say template or template?
Oh, it's definitely template.
Okay, settled. Let's move on.
Decision made. I mean, you can say it the other way. I'll just silently judge you.
Excellent.
All right, so I always like to walk through these things with a bit of a real life example. And what I'm working on is actually something that's been bugging me about our own little website for quite some time. So if I go over to ASP.NET Monsters, most of our blog posts, if not, well, all the recent ones anyway, are the ones for our weekly video series, and they all have these YouTube embeds in them. It looks cool. Like you can, click the video and watch it right here within the site. I have just a local version of that here so that we can play around with it without messing with all of the hexo things to generate our actual site. So we're just going to be dealing with some HTML here that has the one post in it. And I want to show you why I feel like this is a problem. If I refresh this page, I'm just going to hit refresh here and then we'll go to the browser dev tools. You can see that for this very simple page, we're making 50 requests and downloading 3.7 megabytes of resources. And a bunch of those, if not all of those, or most of those, are all related to that YouTube embed. It's overkill. And then we're doing that multiple times because so these are each iframes, and we have that like for every post on our site. So on our homepage, it's even worse than that. But even here, where it's just a very simple page with not much on it, the overhead of that is just way too high.
Okay, and so you alluded to the solution to this in the intro, because normally what we would be doing is going to a client-side framework. Vue is the one that I've been using lately, and this looks very simple. I'm just gonna V for each over the entire collection and dump them out, and so I'm only shipping that code once to the browser, and then everything's happening in the browser. But you're saying there's built-in tools for this right in HTML.
Yeah, so what I would like, the functionality that I'd like to add is that instead of having this iframe embedded in here, what I'd like to initially display is just the image thumbnail for the video with a little play button on it. And then when the user clicks on it, I'd like to remove the image thumbnail and then inject the iframe into the page and then have the iframe only load if the user ever actually clicked on it. Only do the work if we need to do it is the idea in terms of all those
Right.
network requests and all that chatter and all the tracking pixels that come along from Google with it. So just trying to add that little piece of interactivity to make the page a little bit more efficient. So that's what I'm trying to do. And normally that would involve, well, let's start with adding the image. So I did find there's a relatively easy way. So this is my iframe here. I'm just going to comment that out. And then instead of the iframe, what I'm going to do is create a little div here to hold that thumbnail. So it's just going to be like class YouTube thumbnail. And inside there, I'm going to display an image that is the thumbnail. So it turns out that YouTube does also provide a way to do that, to grab a thumbnail for your image. So this is the same slug for my YouTube video for that particular episode. I just paste that into there, and that will get me the there's different sizes of this. I can get a little fancier with like doing different sizes of images depending on the screen, which I may do in the actual version when I ship this. But for now, that's good enough. I'm going to put an alt on there that just says what the video is, or watch that video. And that's it. So that's my image thumbnail. And if I go to view this page now, instead of seeing this iframe, I should see just the thumbnail. Perfect.
Right. Okay.
So now that page, instead of the 3.4 megs, is just 512K, much more reasonable.
And half the requests.
Yeah, so there's still some optimizations that we could do here on our site because it's not like very optimized. There's quite a bit going on here that probably doesn't need to, but this is a big improvement with not a lot of work. But I can't click on the video to do anything yet, right? So
right.
A couple of things that I'd like to do. I borrowed this style sheet somewhere. I'm just going to put everything that we do today just directly in the HTML. Just for demonstration purposes, but I'm going to add some inline style here to some inline CSS just to display. I know we already have Font Awesome on this site, so I'm going to display like a play icon on top of the thumbnail image. So that little bit of CSS should do that. Now we have this little play icon. That's cool. Now we need to add the behavior to actually do something when we click on it. So the way I would do that, now I've structured this so that this YouTube thumbnail has a class on it. And I know that I'm going to have a bunch of these on the page, so I'm going to want to loop through all of them. So I'm going to have to write some JavaScript to do that. And the way I would do that is simply by doing document.getElements by class name. And I give it the class name I'm looking for. So that's the YouTube thumbnail class. And then I'm going to have to figure out what to do with each of those. So I'm going to write a for loop. Just looping over each of those. So I'm going to have my const thumbnail equals thumbnails I. So that's going to give me each of the elements. If there were multiple, I only have one on this page, but in the future when I roll this out to our actual website, I expect to have a whole bunch of them on the page. And then I have to decide what to do. If I wanted to try to construct the iframe using JavaScript, this is where it would get pretty clumsy. So this is the iframe element here. I have a bunch of attributes that I need to set on it, and I need to build the source tag on it. I would need to, the way I've seen this done before is I might have something like a data attribute on here. So it'd be like my YouTube embed, and then I would have the URL in there, and I would grab that data attribute and use it to build my, to build up that iframe element using the JavaScript APIs to do that. It's a little bit clumsy, like trying to write HTML in JavaScript in that way. But it turns out that there's this handy thing called the template element. And what you can do is you can put a template element in, and it's just going to hold a DOM node for you that it never renders. It doesn't do anything with it. It's available for you there, and you can get access to it so that you can clone the node and inject it wherever you want into the page. And this is supported on all modern browsers. The only one that doesn't have support for it is Internet Explorer at this point, which you shouldn't be using and supporting at this point.
It's Internet Explorer, so.
Yeah. So we kind of expect it to not support the things that we want to use at this point in the game, but this kind of works everywhere. So let's take a look at how we would use that. So what I can do is actually just grab my iframe that I had previously that I commented out, and I can put it in here in a template node. So I can just say template. And that's it. So it's in there, it's in the DOM, but it's not going to be rendered or have really anything done with it until I decide to. When I run this, you can see my iframe isn't being displayed here yet. But now I can write the code to go and grab that and inject it into into the DOM when the user clicks on the node. So to do that, first I'm going to have to add a click event. So what I can say is thumbnail.addEvent listener. So I'm going to add a click listener here. And we're going to have it run this function every time someone clicks on that thumbnail. And inside of there, I'm going to go and grab the template for that one now. So I can do that kind of relative to the thing that was clicked on. So here I have my event that's passed in for the click event, and I can say e.target, that was the thing that was clicked on, which should be this outer div here. And I can tell it, go and find me the template in there. So I can say get elements. There's a few different ways I could do this, actually. I'm actually going to do it differently than the code I had on my other screen from when I did this before, because I like to go off script just to see what we learn when we do that, right?
What could go wrong?
Exactly. So I know that there should just be the one template in there, so I'm going to get all the elements by tag name template that exist inside of my div here, and I'm just going to grab the first one. And then the goal is that I'm going to go and add that in. There's a little bit of other code we're going to have to add here to make this work properly. I'm also going to want to remove the image that's there, because we don't want the image to still be there. So I'm going to do const thumbnail image equals, and that one is going to be similar to the last one. I'm just going to say go and grab the image element that's inside the target of the event. And now we need to do our DOM manipulation. So first thing I'm going to do is say e.target.remove child. I think that's the right thing to call. So I'm going to say remove the thumbnail image because we don't want it to display anymore. And then I'm going to say e.target. Oh, the next thing I want to do is actually add this iframe that exists inside my template. But I need to clone that node. I can't just take it and add it. So the way I do that is I'm going to create a new node now for that YouTube iframe. And it's going to be, the way you do that is you take that template element and you say template.content, and then you do clone node true. Can't remember what true is for. You want to pass in true. We can go look at the docs after to remind ourselves of what that means. And then I'm just going to say e.target.append child. YouTube iframe. So hopefully I got that code right. That should go, and when I click on it now, remove the image thumbnail and add the iframe to the page so that it only gets loaded if the user actually cares to watch the video. And there we go, it loaded, which is cool. The one thing that I probably want to do is have that autoplay when they click the play button. So that's easy enough. I can just go and change my template here, and I can say auto play equals 1, I believe, is the query parameter that we need to pass in. So let's give that a try. And there you go, it starts playing. Now, last thing that we need to do is remove that play icon. We don't really want that to be there anymore. So I believe the way I'm going to do that is just remove the class that we had, the YouTube thumbnail class, and that should do the trick. There we go.
Excellent. Okay, so I just did a quick look, and it's the parameter that you're passing for the Boolean that you're passing for clone node is actually for a deep copy to include all the child elements in a text. So if you don't do that, it just does the upper node. So,
yep, that makes sense. So we definitely do want that in there. So these templates, they don't have to include just one thing. They can have a bunch of stuff in them. So I can have, for example, I don't know, some other link in here that would be part of my template, and that should get included too when I go to clone the content and contents and inject it into my page at runtime. Let's give that a try. So there's that a tag that I added with a link that doesn't go anywhere. But this is a surprisingly powerful little feature that's built into the browser.
yeah.
That allows us to do quite a bit without having to include any other JavaScript libraries, just vanilla JS, as they say.
So actually, as you were talking, I was like, how did we miss this template tag? And so I was doing a little bit of side research here. So this is how you know this is completely unscripted, friends out in viewership land. But we actually also missed the slot tag, which looks like it's a powerful way to create these composite pieces. So maybe in another episode we can look at introducing slots as well.
Yeah, absolutely. That would be a great follow-up. So that's
Excellent.
part of web components. Yeah.
Yeah, this actually feels very familiar already because of the templating that we've got in our other libraries, but it's nice not to have to pull in an entire front end framework just to do something as simple as this type of work.
Yeah, because I mean, sometimes we're just building static sites that generally don't need a client side framework involved. Like our website is generated using Hexo. It's all done at build time, and then it's just static HTML that we're shipping up. So
Right.
I don't want to pull in some kind of additional framework to try to add this functionality to the site.
Mhm.
I just want to use what's there in the browser. But I'm looking forward to rolling this out because it's insane how many requests this page makes to load, and most of them are related to that
To that
all these
one.
YouTube embeds. So
Yeah. Yeah. Excellent.
cool.
Showing
That's
this
all I
to
have.
us here today. And yeah, if you've got questions about the template tag, or if you want to preemptively question us about the slot tag, then we can, when we start talking about slotted templates, then oh, I said template.
That's
Does
okay.
okay,
Just judging you
but
silently.
you're judging me silently though. Slotted templates, then put those in the comments below. And remember to like, comment, share, mash on that subscribe button so you get updates when we post new videos. And we'll see you all next time on the ASP.NET Monsters.
Bye.
Cheers.